What if justice did not carry a blade? What if judgment could fit into the blackened belly of a pot? Before we step inside this house, tell us in the comments where you're watching from. It begins not with faces, but with iron. A pot stained with soot, black as pitch, set hard on bricks. Cloth tied around its handle thickened to catch the burn. Even empty, it bore presence. It had endured so much heat, it seemed to own silence itself. From its rim came faint hiss, as if memory of past boil refused to stay gone. Shutters groaned against night wind, banging once, then stilling. In that pause, silence pressed down heavy as lid. Kitchen corners smelled of oil, old fat clinging to wood, sparks of iron. The pot rested in middle of it, ordinary and ominous. Vessels hold life or death depending who stirs. The pot does not choose. It waits. Into boiling waters can be dropped meat or judgment, maize or names. Cuffee and Liza stood near. Their hands bore cloth's grain, aprons soaked in sweat of years, but their eyes knew the pot waited as ledger itself. Silence carried heavier than the vessel's weight. A pot can carry feast or reckoning, and by Easter night of 1838, it would carry both. Easter swelled along the plantation. The house stood dressed in celebration, fabric garlands strung across white rafters, flowers wilting under spring humidity, candles primed, lamps filled with fresh oil. Their smoke, once lit, thickened every hallway with sweetness turning sour. Hinges wheezed on doors swollen from rains, each turn, high crying groan, announcing arrivals long before eyes saw. Guests would enter, boots wet from mud, voices rising. Indoors, warmth suffocated, air heavy, rugs stinking faint with damp. At desk lay ledger, pressed beside open Bible, grain entries sharing equal weight with psalms. Margins stained, ink blots heavy where numbers smeared. Debt marks scratched through, others circled neat. Ledger and scripture woven into same authority. Balance in heaven, balance in harvest. Outside, rain softened ground overnight. Morning saw fields soaked, footsteps pressed deep. Wagons had grooved tracks to crib. Quarters leaned not festive but weary. Timber splitting, roofs tarred with desperate patches. Doors crooked and clinging. Beyond them stretched slave fields drowned in labor. The great house glowed for Easter night while cabins dimmed. Workers bent under burdens, heads turned away. Garlands adorned columns for appearance, but humidity wilted them quick. Inside, Easter supper promised spectacle. Overseers, planters, neighbors gathered as communion reinvented for dominion. Bowls of fowl, cornbread, gravy. Laughter rehearsed thin over prayers. What looked holy dramatized power's pageant. Yet behind swinging doors of kitchen, air different. Oil hardened on pans, smoke, burned throats. Shadows dense, shutters drawn tight. Here, Cuffee, Liza, and others labored in silence. Fire and hearth beating, pots sighing faint, cloth rasping. Every sound recorded, clinging heavy. And the house, standing robed for Easter, failed to notice how its timbers trembled with undertone of silence. Cuffee lived in shadows. He bent wood, hauled grain, hands scarred, but voice seldom heard. Silence was his guard, his eyes, dark pools, measured cruelty, retained lash seen, memory carried silent. Liza in kitchen, bent to stirring, folding, washing. Light fell across her steady face as ember glow brushed cheeks. Her breathing slowed, joined rhythm of pot stirring. Stillness, not weakness, but sharpened strength. Apron cloth folded at waist bore years of meals. Knife dulled thin from repetition lay near. Her silence did not show surrender, but ledger unwritten. Each task marked, each humiliation noted. Liza and Cuffee shared glances, brief, unreadable. Between them, silence spoke louder. Inwardly, they reckoned each stroke of command, each waste of life. Rhythm of pot was rhythm of counting, tallying names folded into secret. Stillness composed them. For Cuffee, silence became shield. For Liza, silence became memory stone. Even as overseers mocked, boots grinding, voices harsh, they moved deliberate. Stillness in them carried patience like smolder beneath ash. And patience, when sharpened into decision, could boil hotter than pot bound to fire. 2 overseers presided, not chaotic men, but theatrical, cruelty patterned, deliberate. They struck canes on tables, loud reports punctuating orders. Boots ground soil, imprint of domination, trod heavy, their voices loud, breaking every silence, mocking those forced to stillness. They smoked pipe tobacco even during punishment, exhaling over bent backs, sprinkling ash. They carried ledgers too, margins filled with quick scratches, quills drawing economy out of torment. Their ritual cruelty stayed predictable. When lashes fell, timing measured, laughter rehearsed. Every blow mirrored last. Silence used as stage, wait, strike, shout. But repetition reveals pattern. Cuffee watched steps rehearsed. Liza measured breathing between bark and blow. Soon, silence pressed them, not as submission, but as ledger readying. Overseers mistook silence for weakness. They never learned silence presses back. The weeks before Easter carried omens, though none could name them true. In the kitchen, a pot of water hissed too fast, spitting though fire beneath was calm. Cuffee stared, Liza stirred, both noting how boil defied measure, as if the vessel announced its own impatience. In yard, shutters slammed hard against bare wall, though no storm pushed them. Hinges shrieked once, then stilled. From coops, hens keened sharp, wings thrashing, eyes wild. Their cries unsettled even seasoned hands. Overseers ignored, smudging tallies of rations, cursing wasted grain. Ink blurred across page, black strokes wandering. In dusk fields, whispers moved, names spoken soft, omens carried. Illness, curse, storm. Nothing certain. Only silence thickened around hearth. Kitchen fell dense with it. Hush so taut, spoons seemed to scrape loud. Each breath weighed heavy. Silence trembled as if waiting funereal drum. Not proof, portent. The ground remembers more in hush than in shout. Overseers coughed. At first, dismissed as smoke or whiskey, but cough deepened, pulling blood to lips. One stumbled after liquor, yet blamed swamp air. Another, chilled though fire, flared near. Physicians summoned, cane polished, entrance theatrical. He declared ag, voice confident though remedies poor. Bleeding, powders, vinegar cloths, all wasted. Lamps guttered by bedside, each visit thick with futility. Bootsteps sounded heavy on stairs at night, overseers pacing restless. Servants heard, counted steps, 4, 6, 8, faltering, mismeasured stride. Silence filled intervals, long gaps between cough and curse. Cloths pressed to lips stained dark. Still they cursed, demanded, but decline plain. Cuffee watched silently while hauling water. Liza, tending pots, listened to coughs filter down corridor like tolling bell. They measured rhythm, each spasm counted. The pattern formed like tally, signs aligning toward end. Quarters whispered. Some feared curse, some named justice. Words hushed quick by fear. Yet silence held common agreement. These afflictions not happenstance. The ground seemed to lean, patient. Silence lent weight until every sound entered it. Physicians returned, but their ink scribbles failed to capture truth. They treated bodies, but earth had already claimed decision. Festival day bright, fields humming hymns. Church filled, voices rising with Easter prayer, yet quarters hushed, expectancy sewn tight. In kitchen, tokens gathered. Liza folded kerchief twice, palms pressing edges into lines. She tucked it near, damp against skin. Cuffee carried hinge shard pocketed from storehouse door, iron shard digging palm, cold and hard. Bay leaf sprig plucked from garden crushed slight, fragrance sharp, clinging to apron fold. Spoon dulled, wood dark from years, lay near hearth. Rope coil scratched as shifted, hidden. Each token, ordinary, yet loaded with vow. Not weaponry, ritual objects binding silence to decision. Through shutters drifted hymn faint, praising risen life. But between notes pressed opposite force. Silence thickened, every breath measured. Liza counted her breathing, 10, 9, 8, until thought aligned with action. The house filled with laughter, chairs scraping, doors swinging, hinges crying, music, prayer, feast, all drew attention away. Cover disguised labor within. Inward stillness of Cuffee and Liza held weight beyond noise. Silence became chamber of resolve. Tokens bound them, hour sealed. The Easter feast marked rebirth for house above. For kitchen, it marked threshold. Evening drew. Table stretched, silver reflecting flame. Overseers sat swollen with drink, laughter too sharp. In kitchen corner, pot labored, bubbling low, lid rattling faint, steam curling, sound easily lost under feast din, yet to Cuffee and Liza it beat loud as drum. Wooden spoon stirred slow, each circle measured, silent tally kept. Stir, count, stir, remember. Names aligned with pot's rhythm. Window unlatched, draft stirring, carrying smells outward. Oil, meat, iron, steam. Shutters knocked once, unnoticed in celebration. The overseers mocked in room beyond, cane slapping table, boot grinding floor. But pot had its own power now, steam rising invisibly. Cuffee and Liza moved still as shadows. No tremor betrayed hand. Their silence stronger than bark of orders. Pot whispered louder with each bubble, silent yet undeniable. This was not spectacle, it was method. Supper stretched, and alongside it reckoning brewed. The moment passed without declaration. No cry of revolt, no shout to announce judgment. Only steam rose. The overseers leaned near, hungry, unaware. Platters slid across wood, steam issuing, rising as veil. Heat pressed cheeks, throats, quickening breath. Then silence consumed. It closed their voices before they were born. Cloud-wreathed faces in blur. Their canes clattered to floor, ring of iron faint through laughter, soon muffled. Gasp cut short, swallowed in vapor. Cuffee stood steady, Liza's hands unmoved. Each breath they took aligned with count. One overseer's fall, one mark. Second overseer gone, second mark. Ledger balanced in silence. Steam pressed skin, seeped cloth. Feast song went on, unknowing, muffled by distance. In kitchen air, time stopped. Pot rolled, names reckoned, silence complete. It ended without flourish. No spectacle, no triumph voiced, only ritual fulfilled. Silence, heavier than any hymn, hotter than any pot. After, words folded down slender. Neighbors murmured, accident, pot spilled, Negro unrest. But nothing clear. Court convened, quills poised but blotted mid-stroke. Records showed only gaps. Overseers vanished without detail. Lines struck, ledgers neat again, life resumed orderly, on paper. Courthouse steps wept rain. Bell tolled muffled. Silence kept safety for those in power, safer to deny than reveal. Morning fields looked unchanged, rows wet with dew, tools aligned. But silence told another. Soil remembered what paper refused. Years dimmed event, yet whispers flared. An iron pot found cracked, abandoned in loft corner. Children sang rhyme, two in the boil, names to spoil. Adults hushed them silent. Archivist discovered footnote scratched. Easter, overseers gone, later half erased. Margin bore ghost of ink, faint smudge persisting. Stories moved fireside. Laughter dimmed, embers low, tales murmured of supper cursed, or justice cloaked as feast. Oral memory steadied ember when page turned away. Silence, stronger than denial. Steam remembered still. Reckoning does not bind to verdict. It lingers. In kitchens where pots bubble, in shutters creaking, under night wind, in silence pressing cloth against skin. Justice here no spectacle. It came in quiet, in steam unseen, in names tallied softly without ledger. Today the pot is gone, overseers erased, law silent. Yet presence endures, ground damp with memory, shutters rattling when storms approach. Silence reopens moment again and again. Ledger in heaven or earth remains unsettled, but ground remembers. Always.